So Eric is not at home. He's remote today. We'll talk about that here in a second. And I have a very interesting article that has aged very poorly in race car engineering on this week's FR Racing's Garage Talk. I'm DJ Flook.
I'm Eric Richardson.
So Eric, where are you?
I'm actually in technically Foley, Alabama, but more or less Gulf Shores.
Holy Alabama. Holy Alabama. I have to look this up now.
We are 7 miles off of the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, weather okay so far? Saw they had some nasty tornadoes down there recently in
Yeah, we
Alabama.
were actually good. We've gotten some rain down here. It's been cloudy, but still mid 70s for the most part, and not snowing or raining of what I would normally see in Michigan.
That is true.
So I can't complain too much.
I went to Mobile. It's probably been about a little over 10 years ago now at a job interview with a company that was based out of there. That was interesting flying into that airport. I literally woke up at like 4 a.m., flew out of O'Hare to Houston, and I caught a connecting flight from Houston to Mobile. I did my job interview. I had lunch with them. I got on a plane to Atlanta, and I'm going through the tunnel system in the little tram in Atlanta, and I'm going up the escalators there. And I'm just like, man, that TV at that bar at the top of the escalator is really loud, because I hear like Chris Carter screaming at the top of his lungs on NFL Live when he was hosting that. It's just like, man, that is a loud TV. I get to the top of the escalator. No, it wasn't the TV. It was Chris Carter standing right there at the top of the escalator. And he in person is very much like his persona on TV. I'm like, wow, that was not what I was expecting at all, getting to the top of that. But anyway. So busy week in motorsports. We're working on recruiting for Wednesday Night Dash in our GT3 series, but I want to talk about race car engineering. This is the January 2023. So the work was probably done on this in November. It was published in December. And there is an article in here by Stuart Mitchell talking with McLaren's technical director, James Key, about how the team has progressed throughout the first season of the new 2022 regulations. James Key is no longer the technical director at McLaren after Saudi Arabia. He has been relieved of his duties. McLaren is floundering badly. And after rereading this article again the other day, it's like you can kind of see the writing on the wall in here that it's like, we think we figured some things out, but we aren't quite sure. And there's some other quotes in here that have aged poorly since this article was published in January.
Now, I don't have the points right in front of me, but I'm pretty sure Williams is ahead of McLaren.
McLaren has 0 points. Like they're at the bottom of the constructor table. I think Williams has, I think, 1. Yeah, so I think they might be crazy. The only one without any points right now. So there's like a major quote in here. We made sure the car gave scope for us to develop its mechanical handling and aerodynamics without having to do resource expensive work. Well, maybe you should have. James Key was quoted saying, "It's a massive learning process because we have no reference points whatsoever coming into the season. That's for sure."
Yes.
There was another in here that I thought was a really funny quote. 2022 is just the beginning, and we wanted to develop quickly without having to do a lot of extra work to get the aerodynamic surfaces you wish onto the car. Again.
Yeah. Might should have spent a little bit more time working on
that. I think we're realistic about where we could be. We have an opportunity to get to the front, but we still got a few things below the standard you need to be at to achieve that. A few things. But that was quite a battle for 17th place between their two drivers the other day.
And then they even let the number 2 driver challenge and pass.
Sorry, Lando. Poor Lando Norris.
But they were okay last year and they just fell.
The next page, though, after the article, going into the next article, is hilarious too, for a different reason, because they talked to Fred Vasseur, who's the team principal now at Ferrari, about his work at Alfa Romeo. And this article, this was in the January magazine. The magazine came out in December. This article was probably done in November, sometime after the final race of last season. So literally, he did the article, and then maybe a couple weeks passed, and he left. So then they have to publish this article about all the stuff he's doing and what they're doing to get ready for next season, and then he bolts
And
for Ferrari. Oh man, that's the problem with print. I tell you, by the time it's printed, it's already out of date.
I'm gonna pull in a Chicago White Sox reference with one of their legendary announcers. Egon.
On a completely unrelated side note, Hawk Harrelson is back in the news. A little baseball talk here. He's back in the news because I guess he's publishing a memoir, and he flat out said that his retirement was not by mutual consent. They told him to retire and was pushed out by the White Sox. And if you've ever heard him announce, a lot of the White Sox fans didn't really care for him. I mean, there were few moments where he's kind of funny at times, but that shit got tiring. Hopefully the race car engineering magazine curse of this edition doesn't continue, because they talk about Garage 56 in their testing, and that's good segue into the weekend of NASCAR. So
let's see, 2 of their 3 drivers did not fare very well.
No, I mean, Jimmy, wrong
That
place,
was unlucky.
wrong time. Yeah, what are you gonna do about that? Jenson Button, though, man, he
backslid real fast.
He said like he was struggling in that car, and he was overheating, and he had to stop and pit and drink some water, and he's like, he seriously thought he was gonna die in there. He was struggling so bad, and kind of got a second wind, and he came out and had a pretty decent, at least a decent last chunk of the race. But he was like, he basically said driving one race in a NASCAR was like the full emotions of an entire F1 season, which I'm sure the F1 community is going to love hearing that.
No, you know it.
I mean, NASCAR does not get the respect it deserves on the global level, because it's a bunch of hee-haw Americans just turning left 4 times and running each other into the wall. It's like so much more than that. And that's why you see these guys come in from Europe and, have decent F1 careers, have decent open wheel Indy careers, and just struggle. I mean, you look at, Sam Hornish Jr., great IndyCar driver, lousy cup driver. Montoya, his greatest achievement in NASCAR was destroying the air dryer at Daytona.
You got Connor Daly, who just jumped in this past week also. Danica Patrick did a switch over. And Sage Karam actually is not even running Xfinity this year.
No, he's not. I just realized that.
But on the other side, you do have Tony Stewart.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing with Tony Stewart, though, is that guy was never an IndyCar driver. He was built he was the rough and tough NASCAR driver in an IndyCar, and probably why he blew his engine half the time.
And that's that growing up on the dirt tracks of Indiana.
Yeah, that guy had NASCAR pedigree. He was just not right for that sport. And those cars were so lousy too when he got in there. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, and AJ Foyt, that's AJ's again.
And that's a totally different era of drivers too, right, with AJ and Mario doing all they did.
But yeah, I mean, that's you got another one in there. You got these guys coming in, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of the guy who filled in for Chase Elliott this week, the IMSA specialist.
Jordan Taylor.
Yeah, Jordan Taylor. Thank you. I completely spaced his name. He came in and just, had a good qualifying run and is just dropped like a rock. Once it got out there. I mean, it's just a totally different style of racing, and it's tough. I mean, it's really tough. And I think if more people gave it a chance and really understood, it should get more respect than it does.
I had this thought last week, in between our episodes here. Do you think Williams, when he parked on the start finish line in Atlanta, goes, you know what? It's Coda next week.
He just didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it.
hey, I couldn't help it. It parked me. I couldn't drive.
Josh Williams.
Oh, shucks.
I only caught the last half of that when you said Williams. I'm like, what does Williams have to do with Atlanta? Oh, Joshua. No, I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't think that was even in the first 100 thoughts in his head at that point. I think he was just really upset at the situation and like, you know what? Fine, you want to park me? I'm out of here.
I guess it works after the fact, though.
I saw some of the interviews he gave. He's sitting in the hauler and waiting for his little his disciplinary session, and like, would you like some pizza or something to drink? He's like, no.
3 hours later, bring it on. So,
oh man, that's why I continue to love NASCAR. It's just you don't see those kind of antics anywhere else.
So what about that? They're changing up road course rules. They didn't do the cautions at the stage breaks. They just keep on running. On a road course, should they look at limiting the number of green-white checkers?
Yes, that was ridiculous.
3 attempts.
And that course is so long.
And we're talking a 3+ mile course.
Yeah, I mean, that's a long course for them. I mean, I'm guessing it's probably the longest.
I think so. Maybe Road America.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Well, that's not even on the schedule anymore. It's
just a year.
On that note, I wanted to talk about this too. But yeah, you could hear Kurt Busch was getting really frustrated with all the restarts towards the end. And what'd you think of that booth this weekend? It was a little crowded.
I didn't get to see too much of the race. I just saw the first couple laps, and then I was heading out, unfortunately. But 4 people in the booth, with
plus they had Chase Elliott popping in there. He was sitting at home and he was, he's sitting in front of his computer, popping in, giving his commentary. And I was a little disappointed because, I mean, you had Mike Joy, you had Clint Boyer, you had Kurt Busch in there. You had Gunther Steiner from Haas, the F1 team filling in there. And there were times that I forgot that Gunther was there. Like, he just went quiet. And I don't think that was anything with him. I think it was just that booth was just too crowded that they almost like, and the fact that he's not an experienced broadcaster, he didn't really like, it just didn't give off the vibe that he felt comfortable enough to just jump in and give his thoughts. They kind of had to like, hey, what did you think about that? Or what, and then he'd give his thoughts. And then some people are like, I couldn't understand him. He talks too fast. His accent's too thick. I'm like, okay.
It's fun hearing the drivers and stuff, but I do miss the days when you had just Bob Jenkins and Benny Parsons in the booth. That was it.
Ned Jarrett as well.
When you can just have those guys go back and forth.
I really enjoyed Kurt Busch in the booth. He's a driver that in his early days, I could not stand him. I mean, he was just, for lack of a better word, he was a punk, and he was starting fights and he was getting upset at everybody, and everybody bumped into him. He was getting upset at, and he still had a few moments here and there as his career went on, but this is a guy who, matured as he got older.
Yeah, I'm still not the biggest Kurt Busch fan, but
no, but it's also like, look at his brother.
I'll take him in the booth though.
but he was very entertaining. The raw emotion at the end, like, I don't know if you saw the clip or not when Tyler Reddick is about to win in his his old ride,
Yeah.
and he was like a combination of proud, almost in tears. You could tell like he has that fire to be driving still, and his body just won't let him. And you could see that that was kind of a breakdown of, it's like, what if I can't be in there? He goes, at least the car's in good hands, which was just a really cool thing to say. So it was just
And
a
that driver
really, really
swap,
cool moment.
kind of cool to see the driver swap. Both drivers have won so far with Kyle Busch and
Yeah,
Tyler
yeah.
Reddick.
Yes, indeed.
The question's coming in: will they click with their new team?
Yes. Well, so far so good. Bubba, on the
So
other
far,
hand,
looking good. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I should be
Bubba,
there.
Bubba was pretty hard on himself after Sunday. He's like, I'm my 6th year and I'm making rookie mistakes. Man, you're just asking to be replaced, aren't you? Literally
Yeah.
asking to be replaced. But
Well, last week we had Kyle Busch talking about respect of drivers. This week, Ryan Preece calling out drivers.
oh man, speaking, you said Kyle, and it immediately reminded me, Kyle Petty, man, went guns a blazing on Ryan Blaney. And it was he made, I forget the exact quote, but he said something to the extent of like, Ryan Blaney's this guy with all this potential, but he just doesn't convert. He just doesn't win. And it's just like, he's just another one of those guys. And like, ouch, man. That's ouch.
Yeah, I did see that.
But yeah, it was a pretty harsh quote by Kyle Petty about Blaney. Um, it, it was just a rough weekend. I mean, I thought it was for the most part, outside of the ending, it was pretty entertaining race. Um, I've said this before, that I hated road courses when I was a kid, and I just wanted to see them go fast and really bump into each other and get those those like Darlington battles, and the big one at Daytona. But now it's just like, what, Coda's fun. Coda's a lot of fun.
So, what are your thoughts? We've been talking NASCAR here, and it's not, we don't really have the rivalries from the 90s that we saw. We Denny Hamlin, Ross Chastain, they're getting something going, but then you get NASCAR like, yeah, you can't do that.
Well, now you've got Ross Chastain versus
And
Daniel Suarez.
Ross Chastain is in everybody. He lives in everybody's mind. But now you got Daniel Suarez, who just got fined $50,000 for
I
pretty much
understand.
passing the entire field on the cool down lap
I understand why now.
to get to Bowman.
Yeah, and he rammed Chastain out of the way to get to him.
That,
So
my question for you on that: where does NASCAR draw the line? Are they pushing too much to where they're just penalizing every little thing and not letting these rivalries build? Or
this is
what does the fan want to see to bring it back to what it was in
this this particular instance, and after going back and seeing the footage again and hearing some of the people talk about it, this was 100% a safety issue.
Yeah,
The cool
because it was
down,
on pit road with people
yeah. So
standing there.
when he
That
gave Bowman his bump, there was a NASCAR safety official directing traffic, like what, 5-8 feet away from Bowman's car, and if he would have turned him and got him
hit that.
spinning, he would have hit that guy, and
Yeah,
probably, I mean,
so
potentially killed him, or at least severe injury. And it's just like, you can't do that. Like, if he would have
no,
popped him on track,
that's what I would have rather seen. Something on track. When you're pit road, I
and
think
I'm
fifty
sure he
thousand dollars
would have.
fine
I think
was
he was
light.
so like, so upset that he's like, I'm gonna get to him. I don't care. And they said, what happens if he would have parked his car and he would have went over to Bowman's, went over to Bowman's hauler and just started punching him. And it's like, yeah, okay. He probably would have got a,
We do that in hockey and they get 5 minutes. So
yeah. And, he
for
probably would have got
that,
a
I
smaller
would have been
fine for
okay
that.
seeing one race suspension even.
Still, one of my favorite fights in our, we'll call it our era growing up. And wasn't it Clint Boyer with the infamous running across the parking lot, chasing down Jeff Gordon?
Yep.
That was like, that was one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen. Because it's like, I love Jeff Gordon to death. I have so many of his die casts and memorabilia on my wall, but I don't see him as somebody who'd put up much of a fight with anyone. don't see it. I don't see Jimmy Johnson as much of a fighter in the same way. There's several drivers that, like, you put like Jimmy Spencer out there. Jimmy Spencer would probably just beat the crap out of anyone.
I would not want to think about Jimmy Spencer.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon, not so much. But
well, do you think NASCAR needs to let some of these rivalries kind of build?
Yeah, as long as it's not impacting, as long as it's not impacting the safety of the drivers, the crews, the track officials, or the fans. I mean, if the driver's getting a little bit of a scuffle after the race next to the hauler, there's far worse things that could happen. It's great TV, one, and it gives you a lot to talk about. Like, okay, it's not racing, but it's like half of racing is the antics after. Like, I don't care who you are or what series you're in. Even in Formula One. I mean, when was the last time there was a fist fight after a Formula One race? And it's been a while.
We're gonna see one this year.
Between two teammates, maybe.
I think NASCAR should let some of the stuff build up after a race. You
IndyCar, the same thing.
Dust ups, you pull them into a hauler and go, hey, we get it. Do not do this here, here, and here. And race hard.
Yeah.
You step across this line, here's where it's gonna go. But if it's bump and bang as much as you want, as long as you don't cross that line, have at it.
I just, there's so many good clips over the years of, after the race where, drivers or crews are getting into it with each other. And okay, we don't want anybody like severely injured, but just little good old boy roughhousing. I mean, that, again, I say about NASCAR and respect across the world, and it's like, oh, look at these hee-haws fist fighting each other after the race. Like, yeah, so
sometimes you just need a little bit of that pushing and shoving from the pit crews and move on to the next week.
Yeah. Or you look at it with Suarez and Chastain. I mean, I get why Suarez is upset. It just, they were, Bowman and Chastain were battling and going into turn one after.
I actually haven't seen it, but wasn't there even a fourth car?
Yeah,
like a chain reaction of like a bump to a bump to a bump to a bump.
Yeah, wasn't it Truex? I think it was spun on it too. Maybe he spun at one point, but maybe it was another incident. I don't know. That's just turn one at Coda. It's always, especially after a restart, it's always hold your breath when you see all those cars piling in and they're trying to do 4 wide through that turn, and it's like,
well, and we've driven this track in our Wednesday Night Dash in the Truck Series, and that is not a easy turn.
No, because you're going uphill. Like, it's a pretty steep incline. You're going uphill. You're trying not to lose all your momentum, and then you make that hard left. Like, it's not an easy turn to make on any car, for that matter. I mean, look at last year's U.S. Grand Prix. Carlos Sainz ended up out of the race on lap 1. One of his couple times that happened, was it 3 times? I think we figured out.
Yeah, they get 3, and then they get a penalty.
No, I'm saying Sainz was wrecked out of the race on the first lap, I think, in 3 races last year.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and that was one of them. He if it wasn't that, or his car was catching on fire, I swear, I don't understand.
Here's another one for you, a little crossover to iRacing.
Yes.
a couple points on it about how one of the drivers got some practice in on it. But would you like to see iRacing set their track limits to match what the racers do? Coda's a big one, and like
Yes.
Watkins Glen Turn 1.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're going to advertise this service as the premier, the premier simulator that the pros are using, that they're training, like you have to do that. Like Tyler Reddick credited iRacing and what's Keegan Leahy, the former NASCAR champion on iRacing, for helping him out find some speed in using iRacing. And I mean, that result translated on the real track on Sunday.
Yeah, started up front and won the race.
And there's, Scott McLaughlin, won Sebring. He flat out credited the practice he had in iRacing that helped him find some additional speed when he got out there. I mean, the cars are fake, but the racing is pretty real out there. And yeah, I think they absolutely need to be matching the track limits with what they, what they're actually using. Obviously, like rescanning tracks and changes happen too fast and they could take time and money. Like, there's nothing you could do about that. But if it's just adjusting a track limit, that can't be that difficult. I mean, you get plenty of time, notice of these changes. The teams do. I'm sure they could do it if they wanted to.
And so hopefully here soon, or at some point down the road, we'll see some of those adjustments made. There's not a ton of tracks. It's a couple of them that have the wider runoffs. And Chicago can't really adjust track limits too much because that's a wall.
Yeah, your track limit is the wall. And that Toyota sign running along Michigan Avenue that I probably, scraped against about 200 times practicing for that event. I still think I think the race is going to be a lot of fun for television. I think the drivers will hate it. And I think logistically, the fans will hate it. And I think logistically, the people in Chicago will hate it.
I'm thinking, from what I was seeing, this could actually be a one and done type thing, even though they have a 3-year contract.
Back to Chicagoland Speedway. We're going on to Joliet. Hey, it's the Speedway saved for now. They're doing was it a motocross event there? I think
It's something.
Yeah, they've got something on the schedule. It's not a full use of the track, but this as that track starts to wear down, it seems same thing with Auto Club. People criticized Auto Club, and as that track started to wear down over time, got some pretty fun races out of that. It's just like, no, the track is just finally becoming good, and now you're gonna get rid of it. No, don't do that.
Not even that old yet.
No, Auto Club. I still am upset about that. I just think that's really, it looks so forced what they're doing.
They've taken a gimmick and they're trying to build off of it.
Turn it into a permanent gimmick.
No. Well, we'll see what NASCAR does this weekend at Richmond. Kind of getting into the short track. So
you got Richmond, you got Richmond, Darlington, Martinsville, all in the next few weeks, and then end of April we got Talladega coming up. And I'm really upset about that because I have to go to somebody's birthday party during that race, and I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to go sit in the corner. I'm going to watch the race on my phone. If I can't get it put on the TV, I'm going to sit in the corner, and I'm going to get lectured about ignoring my children and looking on my phone like I've been many times, but I don't care. It's Talladega.
I was watching a Wednesday night dash race while waiting for my son to be born, so birthday party can't
be. You're watching the live event as it was occurring. It wasn't a rerun. It was the season finale, featuring the epic post-race meltdown of a former series driver. Oh man!
Oh, sometimes
we
So
finished the.
NASCAR coming up.
I still say we finished that race. I had no idea this had happened, and then somebody messaged me, "Hey, did you hear the post-race interview?" And I said, "No, I didn't. What happened?" And like, go check it out. Like,
Now I'm
oh
listening to
no.
it later.
When someone says that, like, "Oh, did you hear that?" No, go check it out. Like, oh great.
Oh boy.
When you're being like cued into go, something that's your platform, your name is on it. You've spent all this time building. It's like, what in the world was said or done on my platform that I have built? Like, if you destroy it, I will find you, and I don't care. I will beat you off. I will find you at your fake iRacing hauler, and we'll be scuffling, and I probably will get knocked out, but I'm gonna go down fighting.
Go the classic Rock'em Sock'em Robots. Best of three.
Oh, so I have to ask, as we're getting ready to wrap this up here. Australia is this week, starts at 1 a.m. Eastern. You're going to be heading back home leading up to that. Will you stay up and watch?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm watching.
So are we making the official announcement that we're going to do this?
Oh, sure. Let's do it. Let's have some fun.
All right. So Saturday, so tomorrow, tune in at 1 a.m. Eastern time, live on this Twitch feed. And we're gonna be watching F1 TV. We're partnered with F1 TV. Check out my my breakdown of 2023 F1 TV at frracingonline.com/F1 TV. We're partnered with them this year. We're gonna have the race on. Obviously, we cannot broadcast it on Twitch. We'd get in big trouble with that. I'm sure probably lose our promoter status for F1 TV. The process, but we'll have the race on TV in our respective homes. We'll be watching it, and we'll be sitting here giving our commentary pretty late at night. And yeah, it'll be fun. Come join us. Come hang out on the chat, talk to us, and we might have a guest stop by. We're still the guest lives in the Eastern time zone as well, and is still debating if they want to stay up until 3 a.m. Sunday morning. So but yeah, we're gonna call it FR Racing's Garage Talk Live, or we're truly live, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. We'll do this for other events, and we'll see how it goes. Come hang with us Saturday night, 1 a.m. Eastern, on this twitch.tv/FR Racing Online.
Then, as we get into the run up to Lights Out, we can talk about our predictions of who we think might win and podium, and
not McLaren.
Red Bull.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a frog in my throat.
Unless they crash each other out. Actually, Red Bull has not done well the last couple of years.
Leclerc got it last year, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah, a race Ferrari actually finished. Yeah, Max was a DNF last year. I don't think Max has ever won in Australia, but probably will win yet again. But
and I think we got to touch on one other race before we wrap here tonight.
Oh yeah,
IndyCar at Texas with the largest field in quite a while.
Oh, that scares the crap out of me. I still like I wasn't driving. I was a teenager at that time, and seeing, Kenny Breck go flying up the catch fence at 237 miles an hour. Obviously, they're nowhere near of that fast today. That still gives me oof, just that image in my head is just oof. It's amazing he survived it. It's amazing that he ever walked again. It's amazing he ever got back in a race car again after
it's
that.
What, 1998?
Was it that long ago? We have to look it up. I swear it was a little bit more recent than that, but I was thinking it was 2001-ish.
He was going through rookie orientation.
2003.
Yeah, he's going through rookie orientation, I think, when we were in 6th grade.
Yes, he was. We on our field trip, we saw him practicing on his rookie orientation on our field trip to the track. And then he wrecked out in the parade. Took out his whole row. Actually, I don't know if he caused the wreck, but yeah, his entire row. Stefan Gregoire and Alfonso Giafoni ended up in the final pace lap. Oh, that was an awful race. But yeah, he left and went to kart. Then he came back. And says here the crash saw the highest recorded G-forces since the introduction of the crash violence recording system, peaking at 214 G. Death typically occurs after 50 G. He suffered multiple fractures, breaking his sternum, femur, shattering a vertebrae in his spine, and crushing his ankles. He spent 18 months recovering from his injury. He would return for one additional race, but it essentially ended his career in IndyCar.
Yeah, he's lucky.
But yeah, I mean, just watching that, it is hard to watch. You've seen, there's been some deaths in IndyCar over the year. Obviously, like Justin Wilson's death was hard to watch because you didn't realize, like, he got bopped on the head with a flying piece of debris. Like, you didn't think he was dead, but he was. Dan Weldon's obviously another one that was just like, oof, you knew that was not going to end well. And
I still remember that day.
Yeah.
It was like it was yesterday.
I think the two most horrifying crashes I've ever seen on TV were Kenny Breck and Dan Weldon. And knock on wood, I hope I never see anything close to that ever again.
No.
In a race car.
Well, actually, we were close. A couple of years ago with Formula One, Romain Grosjean.
Oh, yeah. That was.
I couldn't believe that one.
In fact, he just like hopped out of there. It was just like, I for sure thought he was dead.
I'm pretty sure I stopped breathing for that like 15 seconds it took for him to climb out. It felt like an eternity.
Yeah. Well, and then on like Drive to Survive, when they showed it, they stretched the whole segment out into like 5 minutes of like from the point that they show the crash to the point him hopping out and the fire and response. It's just like, come on, man. Like, ugh. Anyway.
But 28 cars taking the green flag. It was a little bit of a wreck fest last year.
That track terrifies me. It's just.
Hopefully they learned a little bit, and one driver that I saw that was involved in some manner learned a lot since then. Hopefully.
Would his initials be DD?
Yes. He is a much more talented driver than I can ever imagine, so I can't talk too much about it.
Right.
But
yeah. That's like saying, oh, this guy in the NBA sucks. Yeah, well, he's a million times better at basketball than I'll ever be.
But watching and breaking stuff down, there are some questionable things that led to incidents.
Well, and then you had last year the Callum Isla with Jack Harvey's suspension wishbone flying back at his face, and the aero screen saving him. It's just
talked about that one.
That was we talked about that several episodes back on when we talked about the aero screen and the halo, and how many drivers are alive today because of those two. People have still crack on them like, this isn't open wheel anymore. It's like, well, we'd have probably 5 dead drivers, at least 5 more dead drivers if it wasn't for those devices. So
yeah, it even caught the air hose on Ilot's helmet.
Hey, that is still a crazy video to watch. It's just you're driving and here comes that debris and there goes his hose.
There it goes. So busy weekend of racing.
Yep. Tune in at 1 a.m. Eastern, Sunday morning, 10 p.m. on the Pacific Coast for the Australian Grand Prix on FR Racing's Garage Talk Live.
And we'll have our coffee. Make sure you have your Player One coffee ready too. You come watch with us.
It's only 10 p.m. for me.
Yeah, it's still early for you.
Yeah, it's like I'll be going to bed at midnight. It's not my usual.
3 a.m. is like my bedtime right now. Anyways.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll suffer later in the season when they've got all these 4 a.m. Pacific time starts when they go back to into Europe and the Middle East again. It's just like 4 a.m. That's what I'm going to need the Player One coffee. That's for sure.
So, man, I'll be wide awake. Just 7, 8 o'clock. Let's go.
Yeah. We've got Australia. We've got actually the Japan race is usually pretty late Saturday night into Sunday morning. But like Singapore, because it's a night race, it's not too bad. But yeah, I think only Japan and Australia are the only two that it's really super late. I guess Las Vegas will be too, because of wanting to run it with all the lights of the hotels on Las Vegas Boulevard lighting up the course.
That'll be a fun episode when we get to that point of discussion.
Yeah, we're not gonna spend $2,000 for a 3-day standing room only seat. No thanks.
No, I'll watch on TV from the
comfort. We'll do a Garage Talk live for that episode or for that round as well. But yeah, check out F1 TV, frracingonline.com/F1 TV. Just put up the post today. We're affiliate partners with them. We're excited to be working with Formula One, also with the Formula One shop for that matter too. So, and the NASCAR shop. We haven't really even talked about it. So awesome to be affiliated with these things now. That's
very cool.
I'm a sucker for merch, that's for sure. Diecast, collectibles. I've got my Formula One tire keychain that I bought last year that I waited till it went on clearance because I wasn't paying like $36 for a tire keychain.
Well, and don't forget to come. It won't be broadcast, but come race with us or watch our live stream from the in-car perspective of behind closed doors.
Yeah, we gotta get a few more drivers in there, and we'll get that book. Wednesday Night Dash is recruiting. Come drive GT3 cars with us. We kick that off on April 19th. We're probably going to do a recruiting race on the 12th. Come race with us. We got some good stuff coming up.
Yeah, a lot of fun things happening here in April. We're looking forward to it.
Yes, indeed. And we will we'll catch you next week and give you more of an update on the weekend. We'll recap how our first actual true live event goes. And we'll go from there. It might suck. It might not.
Never know until you do it.
It probably will suck, but you know what? So what? We'll do it again and again until we get it right. Anyway. Yeah. I mean, what else are you gonna do? It's 1 a.m. on a Sunday morning. You're probably up. You're probably drunk most nights. Go for it. Come on in, hang out with us. Don't heckle us too bad.
Yeah, come hang out.
FR Racing Online on all social media and streaming platforms. FRRacingOnline.com. Check out our recent posts, and we'll see you next week. Or actually, no, we'll see you live on Saturday night. That went into straight autopilot mode for me.
We'll get into it. Take care, everybody.
Yep. We'll see you tomorrow night.